Welcome back, everyone, to another episode here on the Business Breakthrough New York podcast. Today, we have an extremely special guest. I've been trying to get her on forever. She's been resistant. I'm lying. She's always been willing to come on. But she is the director. She is the founder. She is the motivation and the inspiration behind everything that you see in this studio, and everything we've been doing here would not be possible without the vision of this amazing woman, the director of the Farmingdale Small Business Development Center, Erica Chase. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome to your show. Really?
Thanks, Matt. Well, it may have been my vision, but you have been the one who has made it happen. Thank you.
We've done a pretty good job. Dynamic duo.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
And Sarah behind the screen.
Yes, that's right. It's the terrific trio. That's really what it is.
Exactly. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So today, I think we want to dive into kind of almost a reintroduction of the SBDC to the public. What is it? How does it work? Why does it exist? All of these things. So from your perspective as a director of one of these centers, I'm curious for your insights on what is the SBDC?
Sure. So the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, is a resource partner of the SBA, the Small Business Administration. So we are a federally funded program throughout the United States. Every state in the United States has a network of SBDCs. So we are, again, funded by the SBA, and then each state will have a network comprised of individual regional centers and outreach centers to meet the needs of the full community of the state. So, for instance, for Long Island, we have two centers. We have Farmingdale State College, where we are hosted, where we are sitting, and there's Stony Brook University, SBDC Center. So between the two centers, we take care of all of the needs of the small business community on Long Island. For New York.
It's a lot of work for two centers, but we get it done.
Yes, and we are one resource partner of the SBA that services the small businesses here on Long Island.
Yeah, and if people want to go back, they can check out the episode that we did with John
Milano.
I was going to say Bernie Milano. Terrific from the SBA, and he really did a really good job of breaking down all of the other partners there. So if people want to go and dive in to our counterparts, the other folks out there doing great work, they can check that out as well. But yeah, sorry, please.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, and then in the city, we have York, we have LaGuardia, Queens, we have Peru in Manhattan, we have Pace University, and the Bronx, Lehman College. And then going up, Albany, Buffalo, all throughout, Jamestown, Binghamton, Canton, all of the centers, and then they'll have outreach centers to make sure that people have access to the services that we provide.
And that's great because there are so many in the city area. So it's not like they're placed arbitrarily around the state. They really see like where population centers are, and they make sure that there's enough centers and resources to make sure that everyone there that wants to be seen can be seen.
Yes.
So that's very powerful.
Yes. So that's New York network. And I understand you're going to have our statewide director on as another guest. So we're really excited to see that.
Yeah, me too.
Son Smith.
That's
right. So we're excited. That's going to happen soon. And she'll talk about the year in review of what we've done as a state. So in terms of what every center does, we basically do three things consistently. So we'll meet one-on-one with businesses, individuals who want to start a business owners who need to or want to expand or have a specific need for their business. We can work one-on-one with them to reach their goals. And we do training. So it may be online training, workshops, or in-person training. And they're usually free or at low cost. So I want to show you where you can see all of the services for New York, as well as if you're outside of New York, how you can connect with your local SBDC. So the NYSBDC, really excited. We're rebranding. We just got a new logo and a new look. This website is going to be upgraded very, very shortly. So it will look different, but it will still be nysbdc.org. And up on the top, you'll see locations. So if you want to click on the locations tab there and scroll down a little bit, you'll see all of the different SBDC centers. And if you want to click on it, will bring you to each of their pages. So you can pick Farmingdale State College SBDC. That's where we are. Mm-hmm. Go down a little bit. You can email us directly from our page. You can get to our website from our page. You'll see the director of each of the centers. So if you need to connect with anyone, you'll know exactly, who to connect with. And then we can forward your request to a business advisor that's going to meet your needs.
So, and just so that people can see the kind of work that we help and assist businesses do, I love this line right there. Since our start in 1985, the expert advisors of the Farmingdale SBDC have worked directly with 36,796 businesses, helping them invest nearly $600 million in the area's economy and create or save 21,251 jobs. Those are great numbers.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing, and you had mentioned this when it comes to the trainings being free or low cost, the advising and everything is completely free. It's completely free. Forever.
Yeah. I actually have been working with a new client this week, and she brought in her father, who is a business partner of hers, because they both couldn't believe that this was free. They were very, very skeptical. So I spent 2 hours with them trying to gain their trust that, yes, this is free. And they were kind of wondering, what's in it for you? But the fact is, what's in it for us is that we are a service that's funded by the federal government. Federal government, back in the 80s, they said every individual wanting to start or to expand a business should have a technical assistance partner. And that's how we started Country. So
beautiful, because I think the government understood the importance of small business for our economy. And, we're the backbone.
Someone either walks into our office and they say, hey, we're starting a business or thinking about starting a business. What do we do? So we'll connect them with right on our website. You can see, click online form. They do this all online. They click the form. They fill out some information about who they are and what they want to do. And that comes directly to each of the centers. And either Sarah or Maria, who are admin in our office.
Oh, and they're so good.
They're so good. So good. They will get that information. They'll forward that to a business advisor. And the business advisor contacts the individual and sets up an appointment that works to them.
And it's really that simple.
That's as simple as it gets. People will say, well, what do I need to know? What do I need to bring? And I said, just bring your questions and bring your goals and the objectives you want to meet. And the business advisor is going to take it from there with you.
Yep. And we from the position when I was here in advising, we'd start with people wherever they're at. Some people just have the general idea of I always really want to start my own business, really know exactly what it is. And so we can help them work through those different perspectives of okay, well, what is it that you're passionate about? We pulled up the 3 P's. I'm going to butcher it now. I can't remember them. What are you passionate about? What has actual buying power? What are people actually interested in purchasing? And the bottom line is, where you're at is where we start. And so you don't have to have this formalized business plan coming in and know all the ins and outs and speak all the lingo. That's why we're here. But you could also be at that advanced stage. You could have 3 locations that are up and running and you really want that 4th and you got your eye on that location and everything. And then we can help you with that. We work with all these regional banks, and you've done such an amazing job as the director of instilling these or building and fostering these relationships with regional lenders that's where the businesses are going to get their money from. You're not typically going to get it from those large banks, the Citibank and Bank of America and things like that if you're small. And so by you establishing these relationships with all of these lenders and them coming in and telling us, hey, these are our special deals, these are our promotions, and then we get to sit there and kind of not nitpick, but we get to go through and figure out what is it that you want. If I have somebody here and we'll bring up cases I've got this person I'm working with, what do you think? And they're like, okay, well, we'd like to see X, Y, and Z. We want to see these personal financial statements, and obviously they're going to put in the application, but they give us those insights, and so we can really help facilitate that flow of getting those established businesses as well where they need to go.
Yeah, and I think that's the power of the SBDC network, that we are located in communities, so we know the local resources. We get connected to the local townships or the counties, and we understand the resources that will help that business be successful where they want to be. And that's why it's, if someone comes to me from the city and says, oh, I want assistance from your center, I'll always say, of course, you can be served by any SBDC, and that's the rule of SBDC. It's client choice, client needs, client wants. But the fact is there's an SBDC in your community, so they're going to know the local resources for you. That's really key. It's not just a canned resource that, okay, throw a dart, maybe you'll get what you need. This is very key.
Here's a series of checklists. Go there, complete this, watch this video, and go have fun.
Right.
Figure it out.
Right.
That's not the way that.
Yeah. When a small business has an issue with a local township or a Department of Health in your community, if it's a restaurant and they're trying to get their permit, we are embedded in the community where we can call on your behalf and say, hey, we're working with a client. Can you help them out? And there's that nice handoff. And hey, the SBDC in our community is working with this business. Let's all work together to reach the goals of that business owner.
That'll happen right in the middle of a one-on-one meeting with a client. I've done that with clients where we're there and they have a question. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm sure on what the code is or like what are the specific things that you need, the kind of licenses and permits and stuff for this. Because people come in with such unique ideas. It's so amazing. Mm-hmm. But we have relationships built with those people in the cities and in the townships. And this is the case for all of the SBDCs everywhere, where they're like, oh, well, let me just ring up this person that I know. I've spoken to them about like 7 other clients before, so they're going to know it's me when I call them. And, and we're going to be able to get that answer right there live on the spot.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So that is the New York network. I think also each network is going to work with their network of experts. So one of the things that was important to me when I became the director, which was to look at my staff and to ensure that I had experts to cover the majority of the needs out there. We'll always be able to give you assistance. We'll always be able to find you the expert information that you need, but building that team is important. So some of the priorities that the Farmingdale SBDC makes sure that we have incorporated into our team, if you will, is procurement. Lots of businesses want to do business with the government. It is a bear to go through, but it's an excellent customer. So if you were to get a contract with the government, it's an excellent way to create income for your business if you have a product or a service that you're selling to the government and that they're looking to buy. So we have, who you've met many times on the podcast, Lauren Linac. She is the assistant director here, but she is an expert with procurement, RFPs, looking for contracts that would match your product or your service that you're selling. And then she's an expert seeing if there's a certification that will help you connect with the government agency that much more. So, and there's women-owned, minority-owned, and veteran-owned business certifications that she can help you get certified and have that work in your advantage. Yeah. So procurement is one. Another one. And
the cool thing, just the last note on that I just thought about was it's a really good stepping stone for a lot of the businesses that have already come in and they're kind of building, and we help them get to the point where they can get that ribbon cutting ceremony and the chambers of commerce come in and everything. And then they start selling and things are going well. And then they want to look at expanding into that next, like, okay, well, we could look at the government as well. So it doesn't, I think that's something that a lot of people kind of get a little bit confused on. Like I'm either selling to the government or I'm going private. And for some things, that's true. Some things the government doesn't want and only private sales are going to work. But for a lot of businesses, you can do both. And so there's no rule or rhyme or reason why you can't, have your business where you're selling straight to consumers and where you're selling to the government as well.
Right.
And Lauren is so good at understanding those different certifications, all the different things that are out there that you could do as far as sequencing, because some of them, there's like time frames on it and it's not good unless you're starting at maybe you're 2 years in business. Then we'll get the 8A, but then after the 8A, then we want to make sure that we shift into this. And she's just so good at putting those puzzle pieces together.
Yeah. And it's, for a business owner to navigate the when, how, where to go can be a real time suck, right? So You want to be working on your business. So have a partner like the SBDC help you create a much more streamlined process to get to where you want to go when it comes to government contract.
It'll be your first opportunity for a lot of business owners to work on delegation.
Yeah.
Have somebody else working for you that you're actually giving a little bit of responsibility to. Obviously, we're not your employees or something like that, but we're there to serve.
Yeah.
And so to because that can be so hard for people to like release the reins a little bit and have some other people be responsible. So it's a good training opportunity for you as a leader in your business as well.
Yeah. The other thing is every SBDC is going to be a little bit different. But again, the mission is to serve the community, right? And I'll give you another example of how I build my team. So Superstorm Sandy hit Long Island, New Jersey, lots of different places. So when Superstorm Sandy hit Long Island, I was not the director at the time. I was a business advisor. But we went into full disaster mode real quick. And we had a team of people that were dedicated to the businesses that were affected by the disaster. There were lots of disaster programs and money through the government, whether they were local, state, or federal. And that team went out and served the community in trying to help them rebuild and access the funds that were available for the disaster fund. Years and years later, that was 2012. Years later,
A couple years ago.
2020. I mean, it's not that long.
Right.
But I pulled my team back from when they were here for the disaster to help with COVID. So we have still Mike Genova is on our team, and he did, I think, disaster.
That's right.
Disaster podcast for you, for us. He's still on staff because people are still having issues with their EIDL loans from 2020, from COVID, from their PPP money. So another reason to connect with your SBDC is that we like to say we're a first responder in disaster. SBA is the federal program that will release disaster assistance and disaster funds. So to be connected to an SBDC immediately upon a disaster happening, catch your breath from the devastation, is to connect with an SBDC because they're going to have the resources for you. And it's to stick with you until you rebuild and you're at the point of sustain, right?
And we've seen one of the things that I think that Mike was talking about as well, maybe on a different episode, was talking about fraud. And in those moments of desperation is some people just see it as an opportunity to come in and send you these things in the mail that's like, oh yeah, disaster relief, and come to us and we'll give you this money. And it ends up being this like ridiculously high interest rate. It's not actually through the government, through the relief funds. And so by coming to the SBDC, just to bolster your point, you're coming to a government agency, right? Like we're legitimate. And so if you're coming to us, like this is where you're going to go to actually get the government like set aside money that's for this emergency, for this disaster.
Right.
And so you're not going to get scammed.
Yeah. A lot of scamming out there. And I'll go back to a person who's just looking to start a business, right? So you come to us, you register your business with the Department of State. If you're in New York State, that's the entity we register businesses for. Whatever state you're in, you may have a different entity, have a different economic development set up in your state. However, you're going to register your business. In New York State, we hear a lot about as soon as you register your business, you get a ton of mail as a small business owner.
Oh, yeah. Having been a business owner
right?
consistently across states, doesn't matter where you're at. Doesn't matter what state. I've had this in 3 different states and just a barrage. I'm still getting it.
Right. And you'll get a notice that looks so legitimate. Like, oh, send $79 to register this. And it will have, maybe a seal on it. It will look very, very official. And a lot of people
I got. First time I got. I bought it.
Yeah.
I bought the official. It was the official sign you have to have posted on your wall if you have any employees. It has to come through here. It looked so official. Even the envelope has like the perforated edges and has the same kind of color correct underneath and the actual paper inside. Everything was so legit. It has the seal of the state on it. And you're like, this seems pretty legit. This seems like I should do this or I'm in trouble.
Yeah. And if you have a business advisor at an SBDC, you can email it to your business advisor and say, is this something I have to do? And at that moment, it's a yes or a no.
And I didn't go to the SBDC until after that moment.
We have saved a lot of people. So again, another reason to be connected. You don't have to come to us once a week. You don't have to come to us once a month. You can come in, get a checkup in a way, have us as your quote partner, but we're a great partner because you don't pay us and you don't have to communicate with us all the time, only when you need to or you want to. So I think I've covered what we do in terms of where we are. So what do we help with? We help with initial business plan. Someone says, I have this business idea. All right, have you done a business plan? I started a business plan. We can take a business plan, look at it, see where there's some missing information and saying maybe you want to think more in depth about that. Maybe, your customer, your market, your target market, not as clear to me as it should be. So it's not as clear. Maybe in your head it is, but let's really dive deep into that target market. So when you're ready to sell to them, you're very clear and you can get those customers to buy what you're selling.
And it comes, for that, to that point, the reason why that happened, why we put that type of focus and we're looking for clarity in the business plan is because it's kind of us trying to save you money. Because if you don't know who you're going to go out and market to and who you're going to go out and sell to, then your marketing efforts are going to be a little bit more broad, a little bit more general, and you're not going to, it's harder to get in the mindset and to think how the people are thinking, or who are the people that would come in and buy your product or use your services. If it's super general, if it's like, I have a fitness program. Who's it for? Well, everyone needs to get more fit. Like, that's true.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Right.
But like your path to success, it isn't in helping everyone. It's at least not at first, right? It's starting out with that niche, which is exactly to your point of understanding so if maybe I do fitness for men that are 38 to 46, like that's it. Men, this age group. And that's all the only people I'm serving. If I'm a person who's just like looking at ads are popping up on Facebook or wherever you're at, and you see that, you're like, oh, I'm in that age group.
Right.
I've been thinking about getting fit. This is specifically geared towards me. I'm a man that's in this age. Okay, I'll dabble. That's more interesting than just a general like, hey, you want to get fit?
Right. So I think with having a business advisor, you can really delve into the aspects of your business plan and get a real clear vision of the roadmap you're going to follow for success. So that's what we help you with. If there's, research information that you need to build out your business plan, we, as a network in New York, have librarians that can do research for you on your industry in your target area with your target market in mind and help you build out that piece. So again, you're crystal clear on how and where and when you're going to sell to.
This is one of the things that the SBDC needs to improve upon for the titles of those positions. Because you hear librarian and you're like, well, how is a librarian going to help? Like, these are deep experts in deep diving into this business information that have access to systems and software that also like kind of scrub the internet and pull in this data that you're not going to get just by searching. Like, these are paid for access programs.
Yeah.
And so they get this data, the behind the scenes data, behind the firewall, behind the paywall, and then also just all of the work that they've done with researching over time. They know the places to go and how to get that information. And they also know how to ask us to be better, the business advisors, like, is this what you're talking about? Or is it this? Like, oh, I didn't even think about that distinction. So it's this beautiful collaboration. And it's something, I think it only exists in New York.
There's in Texas, there is a librarian system, if you will, a research product that all of the states can access. So the SBDCs across the nation have great research tools for you.
Perfect.
Again, New York, we have our own,
and
it's great to have, and we're so proud to have them.
Because the turnaround on that versus going to one, and you're going to be able to get it. If you're in another state, like, don't be concerned. You're going to be able to get the information, research, and everything. New York saw the importance of that. So we're like, let's do it ourselves as well.
Exactly.
So that's so powerful because that gives us, just as being the advisor, having that in your back pocket, that's huge. Cause I'm considered almost for every single client. Like, can I get sample business plans for a business that's very similar to this? Can I get sample marketing plans and strategies? And so that way, if someone is not familiar with a lot of this stuff, but they're really passionate about, I don't know, making cupcakes or something. They're like, I'm really good and everyone loves them and they say I should sell them. I'm like, that's great. And then you say business plan, they're like, well, I don't even know what that means. So then we can show them, one, you give a blank template, like this is what it looks like. These are the kind of questions we're asking. So we can provide that. But then we have our librarians out there that are pulling in this beautiful research and these beautiful examples and these other articles that talk about it in this stuff in that space. And it's just, oh my gosh, what a resource.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share with you some of the publications that we do have. So if you go to the main page, resources, and then the publications. So some of these you'll see, different publications that the librarians have been a major part of getting great information about different things that you will want to know about. Some of them are a little older, but they're there. And, if you want to scan some of the information, then to use with your business advisor to say, hey, I saw this publication, it was from 2015, but perhaps there's something that catches your eye and says, this is what I need to have more information on.
Well, and some things are just enduring.
Yeah.
When you think about like disaster planning, it's
yeah.
How much has fundamentally changed over the last 10 years? Like
not much.
Preparing for a disaster.
Yeah.
Right. Make duplicate records.
Long-term shelf life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So those are some of our publications that are open to anyone going onto our website. You'll get information about it. And then to get the full text of the publication, you'll need to connect with your local SBDC. If you're here in New York, of course. And again, the national organization will have information. Maybe we can show them how to get connected to their local.
And this will be free too.
Yep.
So
everything's free.
Yep.
So that, again, the New York SBDC, our network, all of the regional centers and the outreach centers are there for you if you're in New York. And if you're in a different state and you want to find your own local SBDC, you can go to americasSBDC.org and put in your zip code and then find an advisor. And then you come up with Farmingdale State College, York College, Stony Brook University. So you'll see the centers that are surrounding your zip code. And then you can pick the one that you want to connect to. And again, I can't stress it enough. You'll want to pick the center that's closest to you because they're going to know your local resources. So that's going to be important.
Yeah, because it's so much, it goes, the zoning and the coding and things like that are so important, the licensure and everything that's so important in those early days and the planning and everything that again, to bolster your point once again, is that's why it's so important to reach out to those people that are really close to you because they're going to be the ones that are most familiar with the coding in your township.
Yep. So SBDCs, we went over a little bit about business planning that we do. We'll work with you specifically on a marketing strategy, which is key to your success. How are you getting the word out about your business? We have experts in social media marketing. We have lots of resources for social media marketing. It's so important to have an online presence.
We have a podcast coming out about that too. We brought on from Stony Brook, our sister SBDC location on Long Island, Cliff Chandler. I always get the names mixed around. I'm sorry. I love you, Cliff.
Great.
But so he came on and so that'll be coming out at some point in the future. But where we dive into the social media aspect of things. And so just to show that's one of the things that we handle and the level of expertise that exists inside of the SBDC.
Right. And you can work with a business advisor specifically on your thoughts, needs, wants to your own business. And through our network, we have lots of online webinars and training classes on social media. LinkedIn, how important LinkedIn is for the business community.
Yeah. And they're so good.
Yeah.
And it's everything. Yeah. It's, procurement. It'll be procurement talks and trainings, a series of them, because you can't do that in just one.
No. So all of the centers throughout New York State, you're on our page, Farmingdale, but you'll see our workshops and training events that are coming up. And anyone is welcome to come to ours. We have our links and you register through Eventbrite. So we have people coming from all outside of New York State. It's not, which we welcome. We have to have outside guests. We had done a workshop as entrepreneurship for you, and it was probably a professor from India who had a class on entrepreneurship, and they found us, and they all came, and we all welcome.
Yes.
We welcome them with open arms
That's
to
right.
listen and learn from us. Again, maybe things would change locally for them, but the business concept is a business concept,
That's
right? And we're always, excited to share. Just this coming up in November 7th, we're doing an AI training, which is the hot topic, right? Such as Chat GPT, which is, I know, Matt's favorite thing. AI.
I have a close, intimate relationship with chat.
As you should, right?
Again, this goes into how do I save money and be more productive, especially in the early days of the business. And so like you understanding the tools and how to use them and everything going to help save you an enormous amount of time. The same way that we did a while ago, we did an episode that was ChatGPT versus Business Advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some of the core answers that the business advisors gave were also in ChatGPT, which lets you know that they're both, if they're both saying the same thing, it's like, then it kind of, in my opinion, it makes both of them more valid. Like you see like, okay, there's consistency. And so somebody might say, well, then why would I go and see a business advisor? And it's what we've been talking about through this whole conversation is like, the amount of networking relationships that you can get through coming to your SBDC, you're immediately expanding your business network completely for free by coming in. And because when we know people and we can connect you with these other resources outside of us and these different opportunities, I mean, it's the real people touch. It's the actual person side, because you can sit there in your office and do all this work and type it up, work with ChatGPT, develop a beautiful business plan, but you're operating completely in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And you will not succeed in business that was my first business failure, was operating exactly that way. It's like, I'm going to come up with everything perfectly and then I'm going to do it. And then like, oh wait, no one knows about this and I haven't like built my connections within the community, but yeah, I didn't go up.
Yeah. And people know people and people want to help you.
That's right.
And your business advisor, I can't stress it enough. That's why they're cute. That's why we do what we do. We want to be part of a solution for your issue or your problem of the day or your big issue that you're trying to, hurdle over. So that's why we're here. We talked about marketing. We talked about business plans. We talked about disaster, right? Disaster, big time. Look at you for Florida, for North Carolina, you're coming up from South Carolina.
Yeah, I lost power for 6 days and lost internet for almost 2 weeks. And that was like the best of it.
Yeah.
Like I looked a little bit north and Asheville is less than 2 hours away from us north somehow. It's so interesting how I don't want to get like super deep into the hurricane stuff, but just to the point of like disaster planning and preparing, how many of the businesses in Asheville, and there's so many, it was this burgeoning town over the last decade.
Yeah.
This burgeoning, all of these small businesses, like maybe the center for small creative businesses and all these craft beer joints and everything like that. Gorgeous, amazing. I've been there multiple times. Stunning work that's done by the people there and demolished. Tens of billions of dollars of damage that who knows when that's going to get fixed. What percentage would you imagine of those really creative business owners had like a meticulously well planned out disaster plan for their business? And why would you? You're in Asheville.
Yeah.
But like not anticipating that, but you don't know what's going to happen. This is just the point.
Yeah, it could be a fire. It could be a water main break into your business. It could be anything, a natural disaster, what we're seeing now unfolds. And like you're talking about Asheville, awful. But SBA is there, will continue to be there. And the SBDC is the place you want to be connected to a business advisor, because that business advisor is going to hear about, before the main public is going to hear, it may just be 24 hours, but it's going to be enough.
That's 24
for you to connect with another resource for your business to help you restart. So we talked about disaster planning. Financial planning is huge, and that can be coming in to work with the business advisor to look at startup costs. Where do I start? How do I know? People will always say, well, how do I know how it's going to cost? Well, let's talk about the things what are you going to need? Let's just keep going back and forth to saying, you're going to need X, Y, Z. Let's put a price tag on that to know your startup cost. And then you're going to want to know what's your operating cost. So your business advisor has done this before, perhaps you haven't. So they can build that financial projection out for you, whether it's your startup costs or your operating costs, and then project out on your revenue so you know that this is going to be a viable business.
Exactly.
So you're going to be able to pay your rent or your mortgage, right? That's what we want to do.
Yeah, the feasibility and the viability checks. And so that's something that I'd picked up from an advisor long gone. Just like making sure that you go in passionately and like understand what are the goals and motivations of this person. How do they get to this idea that's there when as a business advisor trying to assist them the most, and like buying into their dream with them. And then you can, once that's clear and exposed and everyone's on the same page with the passion level, then it's okay. Feasibility, viability checks.
Yeah.
Like, let's look at the numbers exactly like you said. If you're going to make a cupcake, for stick on that example, we're avoiding fish, then you can look at, okay, well, how much flour is required to make this dozen or this, whatever, 24, however many you're making at a time. And you're like, okay, well, it takes this much. Well, let's account for like 10% of waste on that bag of flour just from it getting wherever. And then you break it down ingredient by ingredient. And then you really figure out like, oh, to make like 100 cupcakes, it costs me, you can actually do the calculations, which are not some crazy, mathematical, like genius is required in order to calculate this. It's really not that hard. And the business advisor can help you with this.
Yeah.
And then you can actually calculate down to the cupcake, how much the cupcake is costing you to make.
Yeah. And which is so important to see long-term profit and loss.
Right. If you want to understand them, because then that will really help you a lot. One of the hardest things that people run into, and this is just true across industry, doesn't matter, is pricing. It can be so hard to come up with your pricing, what you should price your products and services at. And so a lot of people rely on like, well, what are the cupcake store across the street selling their cupcakes for? And then, when you add in all of these extra data points that the SBDC can help you generate, then you have a much better idea of getting somewhere in the ballpark. Because again, we go back to our librarians. We get that research done for what does it look like? What does this product look like in this area, in this region over time?
Yeah.
And then we have that cost point, which is crucial because you can't just like, oh, I'm going to sell them for $1 a piece. Like, oh, it cost me $1.75 to make. Okay.
Right. Then if you find that out too late, you've sunk.
Yep. Yeah. You've invested so much into it.
Time and energy and I know of your passion. And we want you to continue your passion. That's what's going to fuel you and create a happiness for you. And that's what it's about. I mean, you don't want to be doing something you don't want to do. So those are some of the things we do. We've gone through how to connect. If you're in any other state, I hope that you use the SBDC. Again, we are here for you. We're always excited about what you're doing. You don't have to have a long-term relationship with us, even if it's just, hey, I'm starting a beauty salon. What are the regulations? Who's the entity that's going to oversee me? We get you that information without you having to go through a whole bunch of information and wondering, is it the Department of Health? Is it the licensing and appearance people? So we can kind of answer those questions for you, whether you're in Arkansas, New York, California, Texas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. We're here for you. So
it's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much. This has been so insightful. I think for people that aren't familiar with the SBDC, this is the single best conversation that I've ever seen where it's been described in this thorough kind of way, but also making sure to hit the local and broader points. You're tremendous. You're a great leader. With everyone in this organization absolutely head over heels in love with your style of leadership and how you take care of our people. And
that's a lot.
And it's true.
Thank you.
True. People came to work here that could have worked somewhere else that was a lot closer, and they wanted to stay here because of your leadership. I know that for a fact. So
thank you, Matt.
Of course. And thanks for sharing all this information with our audience. You guys rock.